bowlers in the world have converged on the Great Northwest, and they are live this evening from Skyway Park Bowl in Seattle, Washington for the finals of the $125,000 Columbia 300 Open. Hello, everybody. I'm Denny Schreiner, along with 14-time PBA champion Mike Durbin. We are here in Seattle, and Mike, once again, you find the resurgence of the left-handers on the telecast this week.
You're absolutely right, Denny. We have the top 3 spots are occupied by left-handed bowlers this week. The last time that happened on the PBA Tour was in 1986 in Peoria, Illinois, in the True Value tournament, when we had Steve Cook, John Gant, and Hugh Miller as the top 3 seeds. However, interestingly enough, Denny, that tournament was won by a right-hander, Walter Ray Williams.
Walter Ray Williams. Now let's assess the field for tonight's championship. Speaking of great right-handers, how about number 5, Mark Roth?
Mark Roth, the man with the big, powerful bowling ball, won 32 PBA tournaments. However, it's been 2.5 years since he last won, so we're going to see tonight whether he can get that monkey off his back and win title number 33.
And Mark will be tested by a very talented right-hander, Mike Jasnow.
2-time All-American from Wichita State, had the highest average on the television pair. He averaged a whopping 267 for 2 games on this pair.
The most consistent player of the week was Scott Devers. He is slotted number 3.
A young player, left-handed player from Centerville, Indiana, has a very unusual style. However, he was probably the most steady of all of our performers this week. Needs to win 3 games tonight to win his first PBA title.
And the wily veteran, Bobby Jacks, in the number 2 spot.
Last won his first tournament and his third tournament 21 years ago. He won 3 titles in his first year on the tour. Hasn't won since. If he can win now, that would be a long drop ended.
And for the first time in his career, Parker Bohn III is the top seed player.
Some people on the PBA Tour think Parker is the best left-hander on the PBA Tour right now. We're going to find out what is in his heart tonight, whether he can come out and win 1 game tonight and win the Columbia Seattle Open.
I was just going to say, Mike, bowling from the top seed spot for the first time in his career, you did that. How much pressure is that on a young player?
I think it's a lot of pressure on a young player. However, I won my first PBA title bowling from the top spot in Tampa, Florida back in 1967. So this is 1987. Maybe Parker Bohn can win his first PBA title from the top spot tonight.
Well, we've got a terrific field and the opening match just coming up in a moment or so. So stay tuned to ESPN for the PBA Summer Tour. Welcome back to Skyway Park Bowl in Seattle, Washington. There you see the handshake between Mark Roth and Mike Jasnow, and Mark Roth will start on the left-hand lane, Mike Durbin, and Mark said the lanes are hooking just a touch more than they were throughout the week.
Lanes 33 and 4 here at the Skyway Park Bowl, and lane 34 hooks more than 33. I think it's going to be the key lane tonight, at least for the right-handers. Right out with a 10-pin, first shot.
Interestingly enough, I chatted with Mark before the telecast this evening, Mike. He said, Denny, I'm going with the ball. I've had some hand problems. I'm very sore at this point. I'm going with the ball I know I can get out of, and I know I can hit the pocket with. Now, I may leave some 10 pins, but I'm going to take that chance.
Well, he's going with a conservative approach, which is normally not Mark Roth's style.
Do you think perhaps that's a reflection of age and experience, Mike Durbin?
Well, it also might be a reflection not only of age and experience, but maybe he anticipates the scores being around the 2-0 to 210 area tonight, and figures that he can get that much and win some games.
And your first look at 25-year-old Mike Jasnow, 2-time All-American at Wichita State.
And that's how he averaged 267 on this pair. Interestingly enough, then, as he was warming up, I said, well, what was the secret that you bowled so well on this pair? And he said, well, I switched to a different ball last night that went straighter, and it just kind of held into the pocket. And I said, well, are you going to use that ball tonight? And he said, no, I'm not. And then he switched back again, and he's using that ball right now. He changed at the last part of the practice session.
Shot games of 255 and 279 on the championship pair during match play competition. Looking for the double.
Perfect. Oh, perfect. And it leaves a solid 9. What a bad break for Mike Jasnow.
Just to give you an idea, he's seen that 9-pin before, Mike Durbin. During the 279 game, it was a solid 9-pin in the 7th that stopped him from the perfect game.
And there we see he averaged 211 in 1987. He's 25 years old, just a youngster. Cross lane at the 9-pin. No trouble. Mike Jasnow's style right here. Watch his swing. 4 steps, and the swing kind of comes behind the hip. Now watch the follow-through. Right there behind the hip. The follow-through goes, kind of fought to get out of that ball a little bit, but right out toward the target. Roth hooking the ball a little bit more. And gets the message.
Is that the head pin, Mike, most of the time, the messenger pin?
Definitely. Most of the time, that's the head pin that goes to the sideboard and comes across to get that 10 pin.
Mark Roth with career earnings in excess of $1,225,000. And there you see his numbers for the week. And that's how Mark, through the years, has made all that money. He's had a big average.
2.5 years since he last won for the double.
He is very hungry, Mike, in talking to him before this show. And he said, Denny, you know, I have really bowled pretty good the last couple of years on television. Just haven't been able to get a break. Maybe tonight will be the day.
Well, Jasnow bowling, almost a legend, Mark Roth. Has to be a little bit intimidating to him.
Is that worth a couple of sticks here and there, do you think, Mike?
Well, right away, it's worth a 4-7-10 right now. Is it right lane? Again, we talked about hooking more than the left lane and being the key lane tonight.
It appeared as if Jasnow didn't rear at the line, but didn't quite stay down and threw the shot.
Falls a little bit left of target right away. Almost has to give this a shot. And doesn't. Goes for the fill.
So why do you say that at this point, Mike? You don't expect Mark Roth to open or shoot a game under 200?
No, I think Mark Roth's the type of player, and he just seems very aggressive tonight as we see Mike Jasnow's average for the week of 218 and a high game of 279 right on this very pair. It just appears Roth is very aggressive, and I don't know, just a type you don't want to get too far behind right away.
Jasnow elects to re-rack on lane 33. There you see the scoreboard. Roth with a big double in the second and a third. Actually, Jasnow should have started with a double. Left a solid 9 in the second. We can rectify that situation on lane 33.
Oh boy, he's in big trouble now. The Greek church, 4, 6, 7, 9, 10. He probably will shoot for the 3 on the right and hope that he can hit the 6-pin thin, that it will deflect off the 9, and he'll get a kick on the 4-7.
Mike, well, we'll touch on something when we come back here in just a moment. I ask you how you can... Oh, my goodness. Got 4 out of the 5. How you can throw 2 great shots and then throw it through the nose a couple of times. But Mark Roth is feeling a little bit better. He leads alive.
And you see that with a below 500 career TV mark.
It's hard to believe. Just shows you how difficult it is to win game after game on television. Roth looking for the turkey on the right-hand lane. Take a commanding 45-pin lead. He likes it, but once again, the solid 10, Mike Durden.
Keeps Jasnow in the match. Barely breathing, but he has a little life left in him.
Well, it's early, though, Mike. It's only the 4th frame.
But you just don't give a bowler like Roth 35-pin lead and expect it to... he's not going to lose the match. You're going to have to come back and beat him.
That's a good point. He is a tremendous match play bowler. But he struggled the last couple of years as far as winning is concerned. I asked him what his thoughts were about tonight, maybe winning title number 33.
Well, Denny, I bowled well over the last 2.5 years. I've led some tournaments, had some bad luck on TV, and hopefully today I'll be able to change that luck and go on and win my 33rd title.
Start talking numbers like that 33rd title. I mean, most of us, we can't even count that high. Another solid 10. 3 10-pins out of 5 frames for Mark Roth. He anticipated leaving some of them with that bowling ball, and he certainly is.
He's no different than any lead bowler, and when you leave those solid 10s, the pros don't know why it happens. All you can do is keep stepping up there and throwing the same shot, right?
Cross lane. At the 10-pin, no problem. Side view of the great Mark Roth, sometimes 6'd. 1, 2, 3. Now he pushes it. There's 4, 5, 6. Look at the high backswing. I thought he had lowered it some, but it's still real high. And then the power coming through. And there is the adjustment for the high hit in the 3rd frame, and he leaves the washout, the 110 in the 5th frame. He's lost right now.
Mike, let's go back to that point. Jasnow threw 2 excellent shots in the first 2 frames, and now it looks like he's moved to a completely different pair. Why?
Well, bowling's such a mental game, and you get thoughts in your mind, and your opponent getting a double and you getting a bad break right away. It made him tighten up just a little bit as he goes for the spare and doesn't convert it. It's just so much of a mental game.
You know, I asked him about bowling Mark Roth in his opening match here. You're actually bowling a legend in his own time, and this is what Mike had to say.
Well, the strategy doesn't depend on my opponent. I'm just going to go out there and try to make good shots and bowl a good game and let the score, whatever happens, happens.
Whatever happens, happens. You know, he used to say that all the time. Mark Roth. Just go out and bowl your best, and that's all you can do. Jasnow completely lost on lanes 33 and 34, and that's a shame because, as Mike mentioned earlier, this young gentleman averaged better than 260 on this pair throughout the week.
It's interesting.
Boy, oh boy, pressure does amazing things to people, doesn't it?
Well, another day does amazing things. You know, he's not the same person he was yesterday. We all change a little bit day to day, and the lanes are a little bit different, obviously. He's just not getting the same reaction, and his confidence is not as high. Yesterday, he wasn't bowling Mark Roth either.
True. Roth leads by 44. Comfortable lead for the PBA Hall of Famer.
Roth playing deeper inside than Jasnow is. Jasnow going more or less down the boards around the 6th or 7th board. Roth in around the second arrow, bellying out to around the 6th or 7th board down the lane. And trying to bring it back. And
boy, that's a lot of
money.
Hard cash, isn't it? A lot of people at this point wondering when Mark may surpass the all-time leading money winner, Earl Anthony. Uh-oh. Around the 2-8, picked off the 2 and not the 8, so there is a glimmer of daylight for Mike Jasnow.
Very slight glimmer. Neither bowler exactly tearing him up right here.
Mark trailing, I think, Earl by around $38,000. If he would win here this evening, $18,000 on top, he would be, what, within $20,000. It wouldn't take him long to get that.
No, but Earl is bowling every now and then. He can always add to it.
Well, he can, of course, add to his earnings on the seniors tour as well.
Another 10-pin. What's happening here is he's chosen to use a ball evidently with a little harder surface, a little higher friction, one that doesn't bite the lane as much, and the ball's just not driving through the pins and leaving these corner pins, the 10-pin, left 4 of them now already in 7 frames.
He's had a storied past as far as his hand is concerned. Before the telecast this evening, Mark put it out in front of Mike and I. He's got 8 different patches on that hand, preventative patches right at this point, and apparently he's still struggling a little bit.
Delivery of Mark Roth. 7 steps. The backswing not as high that time. And the ball is going to deflect here, Dan. Watch the 6-pin, second from the right. Just didn't have the power to get that 10-pin out.
The 10-pin stands, but Roth still leads.
I can remember a friend of mine was a pole vaulter in high school, and when they did 15 feet, that was outstanding.
I guess you could call him a 2-story man, huh?
Jasnow needs to find something in a hurry. Then all of a sudden, it's perfect.
Boy, it's amazing what a commercial timeout will do. And there is his brother, Tim, who is offering support at this stage. And I think Tim liked that shot a whole lot better than the last couple.
And we'd never know they were brothers, would we?
Slight resemblance. Mike Jasnow trying to right himself a little bit and maybe put a little pressure back on Mark Roth.
He has to strike there. He's still a possible 204, and Roth's going in at a 195 pace right now. So when you can string strikes, it changes things. When you do that, it doesn't change anything.
The ball appears to be hooking a little bit early, Mike. Throughout the week, it didn't seem to do that, but right now, if you set it a little short, it seems to go left almost immediately.
Well, he put that one high, didn't he? I mean, he came up at the line, he jerked through with a follow-through, he wasn't smooth and fluid. No problem with the spare, but he needed a double. Looks good at the start. Good push away. Comes up there. See that quick follow-through? Didn't stay with it at all, Ben. I mean, he just was in a hurry trying to aim it and hoping it would wind up in the pocket. It was not well executed at all. Roth, though. Oh! The 10-pin barely falls.
Well, Mark Roth showing a little emotion there as the 10-pin finally toppled. Nothing
scowl on his face right there at that 10-pin.
Hey, I'd be scowling, too, if I was throwing it that good, leaving those doggone solid 10 pins. The bowler's nemesis on the right side. left-handers have to contend with those solid sevens.
Roth can just about lock it up with a double here. Ooh, the 3-6. Unlike Mark Roth, he has a chance to put his opponent away and did not do it. Right now, Jasnow can strike out for 184 and force Mark Roth to mark in the 10th frame.
Mark with a match play record of 13 wins, 11 losses this week. Jasnow was 13-10-1. It was difficult to win matches this week for the most part.
Parker Bohn didn't have too much trouble.
Nope. You're the top seed, you usually don't go. So Roth converts. He leads by 31. And Mike Jasnow has his back against the wall.
Has to have it, and it doesn't. 3-6-9, and it's going to be history for Mr. Jasnow. He's chalk it up to experience and say, well, 5th this week, and maybe we'll do better next week.
And what do you learn by finishing 5th, Mike Durbin? This is Mike's 3rd appearance on national television. He bowled pretty well the first 2 times in the King Louis Open in Kansas City.
Well, in this particular situation, I think he just chose the wrong bowling ball. He had a maroon one that he was using, and it appeared to me that he was striking better with that. He doesn't even have it out there with him.
Well, he's adding insult to injury at this point. The best he could shoot would be 160, and we all know that Mike Jasnow is a much better bowler than that. One of those experiences where, as Mike said, it's a long, tough night, and all you do is shake it off and head back next week to Southern California and try all over again. Mike's TV record coming in was 2 wins and 2 losses. So he dipped just below the 500 level. Much more speed on that shot, but that figure's right. You leave the 10 pin.
Well, he's relaxed now. The worst thing can happen has already happened.
Yeah. Boy, that's a gut-wrenching feeling when you're out there and all of your friends and relatives are watching on national television. You try the best that you possibly can.
And you bowl 150. I've had it happen.
What's the lowest game you ever shot on national television, Mike?
I bowled 150, I forget, it was 156 or 7 against David Ozio for the title in Tucson.
Oh, brother.
1985, I think it was.
Bet you slept well that night.
Yeah.
You were sleepwalking during the title match.
Started that match with a double, too.
Oh,
man.
no.
Yeah.
You didn't have to say that, Mike. Oh, well. Tough on a third-year pro, Mike Jasnow. He'll learn from this experience, though. He's a tremendous player. And he strikes on the final shot. Mike offering his congratulatory handshake to Mark Roth. 150 the score for Jasnow, and this will be one that he'll try and forget as soon as possible.
Question is whether Roth's going to find the right combination to knock over the 10 pin. Finding the 1-3 pocket has not been a problem. But knocking that 10 pin out like that has been.
Mark standing there with the, well, will it strike this time or not look on his face, and obviously he carried. He could shoot 205 if he throws 2 more strikes. At this point in time, Mike, do you think that Mark maybe should use another ball in the fill situation since he's already won, just to maybe take a couple of shots?
Well, it would be a thought, but I don't think Mark Roth's going to do it. He's going to try and rev it up a little bit more, lift it a little harder, maybe have a little more loft, something like that, to find a way to knock that 10 pin over.
Mark Roth with the spare will shoot 195 and lift his career record on television to 64 victories against 71 defeats. If he makes the 2-8, well, he's 0 for 2 in that department. But he wins nevertheless, 194 to 150. A low-scoring affair, but the scores don't mean much. All you want to do is keep climbing the ladder. We go match number 2. Mark Roth once again starting on the left-hand lane in match number 2.
Well, that's Scott Deaver's choice, as he has a higher finishing position, so he gets to choose what lane he wants to finish in on, and all the players except for one chose to finish on the left lane, that one being Bobby Jacks. Roth, who did not throw a practice ball at all in between. He had some interesting strategies. He lives the 3-6-9-10. Roth didn't throw any practice. He can go over to the adjacent lane and practice in between, but he didn't do that. And it appears that his first shot here was just a little bit soft with the speed. As he didn't get out of that thumb plane, the ball hooks way too soon. He's got a tough spare. Scott Devers, on the other hand, see the spare, doesn't make it. Gives Devers an open right away. Devers on the practice pair over here was not practicing at all. Didn't throw any shots until he gets 4 shots when he comes over here, and that's all he got, and he's ready to go. So these guys don't believe in too much practice.
5 foot 11 inch, 145 pounds. Scott Devers, 25 years of age, out of Centerville, Indiana.
Trips that 6 right away. That's the way Billy Hardwick used to do it on the right side.
Devers, an interesting player, to say the least. You see 207.04 is 87 average, but he averaged better than 221 in this week's tournament. He was the top pin getter.
He also was the leading bowler in PTQ. He led the PTQ, which is the Pro Tour qualifier that we have before the tournament for players to qualify to get in the tournament for the double. And trips the 6 again. Well, 2 trip 6s right away.
He averaged 234 en route to leading that PTQ, Mike Durbin, and so obviously it's been very successful here in Seattle for Scott Devers.
He likes Skyway Park Lane.
Well, here's the master, Mark Roth. He realized it very quickly. He better come up with something in a hurry or he's going to be out to lunch. Popcorn shot, but geez, the 7-pin didn't go anywhere.
Light hit, blew them all out of there, but the 5-pin and the head pin, neither one got to the 7-pin.
Isn't it supposed to be the veteran that comes out and throws the key double and the youngster supposed to be making the mistake?
Right, these youngsters, they're so nervous. He's bowling Mark Roth. He's scared to death, isn't he?
Boy, oh boy. And people don't realize just how tough it is to win out here. You got a great player like Mark Roth, and he's going to have to pull out all the stops to beat this youngster from Indiana.
Well, it's early. It's early in the match. Yeah.
Mark Roth 4 times PBA Player of the Year, 5 times won the George Young Memorial High Average Award. 1978, I had the pleasure of working on the tour and watched him win 8 tournaments, Mike Durbin. Maybe the greatest year in the history of any bowler.
I remember that.
Oh, brother.
I was out here bowling regularly, as you know. That
Probably beat you a few times in the process. What a great year. Gave it plenty of room, and this one came charging back. So on the left-hand lane, Roth comes up with a big strike, and he needed it.
Well, you need one before you can start a string. Profound statement there.
Devers on a double, leading by 21. I think it's imperative that he stay ahead throughout the entire match.
I agree. Very unusual swing. Gave it too much room. And that's nerves. I really believe that that's simply nerves. He came up and was just a little bit high the first 2 shots, and he thought, well, I don't want to go high and leave a split and give him an opening, and he just threw it out the window.
There you see the high game, 277. What a tremendous average, 221.68. And I mentioned he was the top pin getter.
And he better not miss the spare. Doesn't want to give Roth any openings right away. Perfect.
Beautiful conversion. And he shakes his head a little bit and breathes a sigh of relief.
Watch his swing. Very unusual. Comes back, bounces out away, and then back in. From now on, though, he's right in there. He goes right through it at the target.
It's almost like the old figure 8 swing, isn't it?
Almost.
Made famous by Billy Whalen? Or no?
But Whalen was he just did it with his hand. He didn't do it with his swing. Leaves the 6 this time. Ball rumbled just a little bit. Nicked that thumb hole right at the end. Again, indicating a little bit of nerves.
This is Scott's first appearance in the championship round this year and the second of his career. Last fall in the True Value Open in Indianapolis, Scott finished 5th, losing the opening match to John Gant, 242 to 203.
6 out of 14, not outstanding, but if he could win this one, it would sure help the bank account.
Now it's enough to pay the bills and get some experience on the PBA Tour. He leads by 16 pins, but the crafty veteran Mark Roth getting ready to get lined.
Found this second arrow, sending the ball out and trying to bring it back in this fashion. And Scott Devers is going more toward the first arrow down the boards and having it come in this way. Then we're going to get an idea of what it looks like at the object here at the pins. Roth trying to have it finish right in here, solid, a little more curved than I drew there. And Devers coming in from the outside into the 1-2 pocket. Roth into the 1-3. Both of them want to get that 10 pins in the pit.
Boy, I'll bet you were great at Etch-a-Sketch when you were a kid. They used to have those when you were a kid. That's back when they had, that was even before the hula hoop, I think. Oh, well, never mind.
No, I never could do the hula hoop.
There you
I got trouble with that.
Roth looking for a key double in the fourth. Cut the lead to 6. Solid. You don't see Mark Roth get down on one knee very often, Mike, but I think he is already sized up the match and realized he needs to take control.
Well, he wants to put some pressure on this young player. Like he's saying, I'm the veteran here. I'm supposed to come out with the strikes. I'm not supposed to open right away and let this kid get a double on me. He can take the lead right here with one more. Take the lead. 5. Baby split 310. Just a little lax on that speed again there. Just needs to give that ball room on both lanes. Watch him. 6 to 7 steps. Ball grabs too soon. No chance right here. Roth, a great spare and split shooter. Does not hook the ball at it and makes it. If he'd have thrown a hook at it, see, he would have missed it.
Mark said that after his first full year on tour, that he could strike with anybody out there. The only problem was making spares. He went home and learned how to shoot spares. He said, Denny, basically what I did was I really straightened things out, straightened the hook out, and just try and throw it hard right at the pins. And he said, ever since then, I think I've been a pretty fair spare shooter.
It's been an outstanding spare shooter.
Probably the best of the two of them. Devers trying to answer the call. Oh, slaps that 6-pin silly on the right side. He's got that shot down.
Well, he's done it 3 out of 4 times. That he's hitting that same hit.
That drives you crazy, too, when you're on the bench and you're watching. You realize he's throwing a pretty good shot, but, boy, you start tripping those 4s and 6s, and you get nightmares watching those.
The old demoralizer shot, Ben.
It'll psych you out worse than anything else in the world.
Right now, up by 8, can make it 18 and really put some heat on the veteran. Oh, trying to trip it again. He figures, well, if it worked before, it'll work again, but it didn't.
Boy, it's amazing when you look at Mark Roth, how high his backswing is. And then you look at Scott Devers, and it barely gets it to his waist. There's just so many ways to be competitive in this game.
But what is interesting is a player like Devers, with that short backswing, you expect him to be accurate because he doesn't have that big trajectory. But Roth is just as accurate even with much higher backswing.
And obviously with much more power, too. A lot more area. Mark Roth last year winning $84,000, and at this point at $39,000. There you see the co-proprietors here at Skyway Park Bowl. And of course, Ron, I think that Dave Pardee and his brother Rod. And the rest of the family, the Pardee contingent, all the kids on hand here. Roth with a dice-o-matic strike on the right-hand lane. And both players beginning to zero in just a little bit.
Well, the momentum, as Roth asked for a re-rack, I think still rests with Roth right now. He just has an era about him that he just feels like he's going to win. It's just a matter of when he's going to do it in the match. He's going to take command. But he hasn't yet. He still trails by 8.
And he re-racks on lane 33. The pride of Spring Lake Heights, New Jersey, decided he didn't like the rack. Trying for his second double in the match. Could lead by 2 if he strikes here.
Again, and this time it's more difficult. The 3-9-10. This is one of my tips later on. He can't throw the ball straight at this particular split. He's going to have to hook it at this. And he's just getting an early reaction. This lane is supposed to be tighter, and it's fooling him right now. I think he even moved deeper, and it hooked quicker.
And he is really throwing the ball hard, too, Mike. Plenty of acceleration.
He's going to have to hook the ball at this spare. He can't make it thrown straight. Through the hook. And that's when you shoot it from the left like that, that's the result.
So an open for Roth in the 7th frame could turn out to be pivotal. He leads, or I should say he trails right now. And let me correct myself. It's a 20-pin lead for Scott Devers, who is up and ready to shoot here in the 7th frame.
And he's been standing in that exact position now for the last 30 seconds, just with his head down and concentrating on what he wants to do.
Career earnings of $43,609. Would love to add $18,000, the first place check to that total.
It took a little extra time. Boy, that's the result. That was his best shot of the match right there. Just nice and smooth and clean.
Scott cashed in his very first regional tournament. Of course, cashed in his first national tournament.
As we mentioned at the top of the show, as we see that graphic there, that it hasn't happened since the Peoria tournament in 1986, tournament that a right-hander won.
what's going through Mark Roth's mind at this stage.
How to hit that left lane. Or the double. Perfect. Boy, he's zeroed in.
Well, that was Pack City on the left-hand lane. So Devers with a crunching double in the 7th and the 8th has now developed a 30-pin lead.
Devers playing out around that first arrow. Again, makes a perfect shot here. Ball not getting nearly the revs that Roth's ball does. As we see Roth's ball right now. But the same result. Right now, Roth is potential 215 if he strikes out. He has not struck on the left lane since the 3rd frame. He needs to find this left lane right now because he's been hitting the right lane. Scott Devers is going at a 215 pace right now. The difference is 30 pins, but it's still anybody's match.
Roth needs to make an adjustment. Mike will talk about making adjustments on the approach in his tip coming up in just a couple of moments. Boy, he gave that one plenty of room. How about it? Come on back, and there's a slashing strike. And so the seasoned veteran keeps his hopes alive.
He moved a little bit more, and he increased the speed and threw it further right.
Well, the great ones make the great adjustments, don't they?
The ball gets out around the 5th board down there and comes in light and carries that high percentage light hit. Devers leading by 20. Needs to get one more. And does. Perfect. Right now, he just needs a mark. That does it. If he can just mark in the 10th frame, as Roth says, what am I going to do when he throws it like that?
I think Mark, at this point, appreciating Scott Devers' ability. It doesn't get any easier. Mark will be the first one to tell you that there are nothing but great young prospects out here on the PBA tours. He's still kind of smiling and looking over at the monitor. I think Mark realizes he's just been beat by the better bowler, perhaps.
Why is that not beat yet? He needs a mark.
Oh, that's true.
And
oh, my goodness.
He did not get it. He left the 4-6-10, and he's going to open in the 10th frame. Mark Roth will need 2 strikes to win. He'll finish with 201, 210. Roth will need 2 strikes in the 10th frame.
You see Mark's calculator shifting into high gear as he looked up at the scoreboard, realizing exactly what he needed. And the right-hand lane has been the better of the 2 lanes for him.
That's right.
The burning question now will be, can he carry the 10 pin? Because he's definitely hit the pocket virtually every shot on the right-hand lane 34.
And Devers is just kicking himself. He had the match won, just needed a mark. Count was unimportant.
Well, Mark Roth has talked about getting a good break on television. He hasn't had any in quite a while. He might have just gotten one right there if he can take advantage of it.
Yeah, he got it. I'll tell you what. He smells that victory. He really does. He knows that he's got a chance now of moving right off that ladder.
So many times you watch the top pros in any sport, give them an opportunity, and they usually take advantage of it.
Sure does. He asked for a re-rack here on lane 34. He didn't like the rack. He's just thinking about getting that 10 pin out because he's positive he's going to hit the pocket.
Earlier in match play competition, Scott Devers defeated Mark Roth. Now Roth tries to gain a little revenge here.
That's as much time as I've ever seen Mark Roth take. And doesn't carry, and Scott Devers is going to move up the ladder.
And there you see Scott Devers realizing all of a sudden that he got away with one. And you see the disgust and dismay on Mark Roth's face. Threw an outstanding shot, gave it plenty of room. Just couldn't quite tickle the 7. So Roth will bow out in 4th place, win $5,500 as Scott Devers, just a youngster from Centerville, Indiana, wins 210 to 204, and he'll probably never forget the time he beat Mark Roth.
I've just gone through the heart of the pins and left the 4-6-7. A near impossible split, and I'm most likely going to get an open frame. But that's not the real important issue. The important issue is what kind of adjustment do I now make so that I don't make the same mistake the next time I get up on this lane, and so that I can make the proper adjustment to get a strike. Well, before we get into that specific move, there's a couple things you need to know about moves in general first. First, when I miss left, the move is to move left on the approach. And when I miss right, the move is to move right on the approach. Those are the general moves. Now the specific moves are that when I line myself up and use the inside edge of my left foot here If I move one board left on the approach here, it's worth a board and a half at the pins. Go through that again. One board left here on the approach is worth a board and a half at the pins. So 2 boards here on the approach is worth 3 at the pins. Now the 1-3 pocket for a right-hander and the 1-2 pocket for a left-hander both sit on the 17th board. In our example, I left the 4-6-7. That went through the heart of the pins or the 20th board. 3 boards to the left of where I want to be. So the question is, what kind of move do I now make to get that ball back 3 boards to the right? Well, remember, 1 board to the left here was worth a board and a half down there. So 2 boards to the left here should bring the ball up 3 boards to the right at the pins and put it right into the 1-3 pocket. Let's try it and see if it works. I set myself up, and when I left that split, on the inside edge of my left foot was on board 22. So I moved 2 boards to the left, or over board 24, and my target was the second arrow. And I'm going to keep my target the same and not move it. And we'll see if it works. And there you have it. That was the proper adjustment. Remember, 1 board to the left on the approach back there is worth a board and a half at the pins, and the adjustment for going through the heart of the pins is 2 boards to the left and keep your strike target. We'll see you again next week.
Does that to keep the wrist in the position that he wants, and then watch at the end of his approach as he gets to the last step. No slide. He's bowled that way throughout his entire career. Not necessarily something that I recommend, but Bobby Jacks makes it work for him.
Bobby Jacks and Scott Devers and Parker Bohn III from the top seed spot. So 3 left-handed players. They finished 1, 2, and 3, and we will have a new entrant into the Firestone Tournament of Champions, regardless of who wins here this evening.
It's a big for both of these players. Bobby Jacks been out here grinding out a living and hangs, and that ball doesn't get out of clean at all. Leaves the 1-3-6. He's been grinding out a living for a number of years now, and this victory could get him into the Firestone Tournament of Champions. Mean a lot to his career at age 40.
From Hayward, California, his career earnings $174,506. 23 years he's been a member. So he bowled off and on for the better part of 2 decades.
Started before I did.
That's hard to believe.
At the spare. He has it.
And he's still bowling, Mike.
And just never got his thumb out of this ball. He has no slide to begin with. Look at that look on his face. And then the thumb hangs. When he hits light, doesn't want to get a lot of real action there.
Well, he doesn't throw the kind of shot that generates a lot of area, though, does he, Mike? He's a very accurate player that needs to fit the ball in the pocket to throw strikes.
Well, he has that short backswing. We remarked that leads to accuracy.
And we apologize for some audio problems that we have been having from Seattle here this evening. And you see Bobby Jacks, Scott Devers.
And of all the players on the telecast tonight, Bobby Jacks has chosen to finish on lane 34 on the right lane. Everybody else wanted to finish on the left lane. Here's Scott's earnings for 1987, just 11,000 or 43,000 career. Boy, 18,000 more in a trip to Firestone would pump new life into that, wouldn't it?
Regardless of where he finishes at this point, he'll pick up his biggest PBA paycheck ever as he flushes the pocket on lane 33. He would win $7,000 if he would even lose this match. And so obviously he's not thinking about that, though. After you beat Mark Roth, you should be oozing with confidence. Then you take a look at the numbers for Bobby Jacks, age 40. Well, the nerve's still pretty good for 40 years of age.
Hey, what do you think? That's old or something?
Heck no.
A lot of speed. Light.
And what a break.
Crumbles the 3-5-6.
Well, where's the whistle for the cave-in? There you see his wife, and she's saying, come on, Bobby, make it a little easier than that, would you please?
Last night, the left-handers, as we see this week's average of 221 in his high game. Here's this unusual strike. Bobby, 5-step player with no slide over about the 6th or 7th board. He barely hits the head pin. The head pin does not hit the 3-pin. Goes to the wall, comes back, hits both the 5 and the 6, and the 6 falls into the 3. As I was about to say, though, the left-handed players last night were inspecting the racks down here, and they all agreed that they didn't necessarily like the rack on lane 33. Thought the 2-pin was a little in, leading to 7 pins on lane 33.
We should point out that the players do get a chance to look at the racks, and then the PBA staff makes the adjustment.
Kind of bounced that one and leaves the 7-pin, just what he was thinking of.
So that in essence, Mike, when they do come out for the telecast, the pins are as on spot as they can humanly possibly be, in essence, right?
Every effort is made to get them on spot.
Sure.
In the match play, Denny, Scott Devers defeated Bobby Jacks 247 to 221. So Devers evidently
exactly enjoyed.
does it. Four steps. Oh, solid 7. Boy, he threw that one well. Shakes his head.
And apparently we are still having some audio problems. We apologize for those, but what the heck? It's 3,000 miles from Seattle to Bristol, Connecticut, so we've lost a couple of words between here and there. But we're making every effort possible. Straighten things out as Scott Devers spares in the 4th, and he leads by 9 pins. Plenty of action left here in the semifinal match of the $125,000 Columbia 300 Open. Historic overview of the PBA Tour tournaments in Seattle. Last year, the defending champion, a tremendous show. What an emotional show. Dale Eagle won. Of course, we want to mention these championships were played at Leilani Lanes in Seattle.
In 1985, in a telecast that I was on for a brief appearance of one game, Dennis Jakes was the winner.
And in 84, Don Gianello had the hot hand. 83, Charlie Tapp, and a good friend of yours, won in 1982.
And Tommy Hudson, I believe he beat Bob Hanley that year and got a strike in the 10th frame to do it.
Yeah, that's the way to win a championship. And there you see Bobby Jacks, 40-year-old Bobby Jacks of Hayward, California. He trails by 9, shooting in the 4th frame on lane 34 here at Skyway Park Bowl in Seattle, Washington.
And Jack says if you're going to blow him out light, so will I.
An eye for an eye, and Bobby Jacks 14-8-2 in match play competition this week.
And Scott Devers not even looking at his opponent. Head down, concentrating on what he wants to do, and kind of peeks up now. He looks at the rack and tries to see if pins are on spot on lane 34.
It's amazing, those guys. They keep looking down, and they always sneak that quick peek once in a while just to find out what's happening.
Jacks to take the lead for the first time in the match if he can double. Right to the heart, leaves the 4-7. Good break. Fighting his release as his wife looks on. He's just not making clean shots.
And there you see 43rd in 1984. Obviously, he has bettered that mark this evening. The winner of this match will bowl Parker Bohn III for the title.
And we were talking with John Jowdy earlier about the hand release being so important. Right now, that's the part that Jax is searching to find.
Bounce that one, too.
But it's clean at the spare. See, the pressure is different at the spare. And he got on that thumb clean and lifted with the fingers at that particular shot. And he's not doing that on the first shot when he has a strikeout.
Scott Devers, among his hobbies, golf and video games. His goal is to win a title and be consistent.
Devers, on the other hand, is throwing almost every shot clean. Just like that.
I think the interesting thing about his game, Mike, is watch what happens to his hand when he's done with the swing. It ends up behind his head. His left hand.
I hadn't noticed that, but I'll watch it on this next shot.
Watch it. This is pretty interesting. I mean, it really accentuates the follow-through. Get the ball down the lane and get it on line.
Puts that ball over to the left, where it should be, and just kind of walks away from it. And that's the result. It is interesting how his hand comes in almost like he's going to comb his hair back.
Any of that or pat himself on the back for such a great double.
Watch his follow-through here. Puts that ball out, controls it, bounces it out. Now brings it back straight from here. He's like anybody else. And the hand comes up and back, and he's going to scratch his back there.
Almost reminiscent of Walter Ray Williams Jr.
Yes. Only Walter does it with his left hand.
That's right. Boy. Interesting analogy.
19 pins, and Jax better turn on the engine. Another 7 pin.
Much cleaner release, though.
Yeah, but he's running out of frames. This kid just keeps throwing every ball in the pocket. It's intimidating to you when your opponent, you know your opponent's lined up and you can't strike. There's no way to win the match that way because you don't figure he's going to make a mistake, and if you can't get anything going.
The only thing you can do is pull out the plug, right? Maybe shut the lights down. See how you can sneak out, huh?
Boss lane at the 7th pin.
And this is Bobby's first appearance in the championship round this year. Last year, he finished second in the Miller Lite Challenge. He was the top seed, but he lost to Dave Husted, 225 to 210 in Tucson, Arizona. Golden Pin Lanes will be down there in, what, a couple of weeks?
He's looking forward to getting there, I'm sure.
I'm sure Pete Thomas, general manager, is readying things at Golden Pin Lanes. Jack's down by 20. Could cut the lead in half. Or at least start to if he strikes here.
He's still potential 239 if he would strike out, so he just needs to get something going. See if Devers sneaks a peek. No, he can hear from the... Now he sneaks the peek. He looked up.
You can hear those 7 pins, can't you?
Well, you could tell from the reaction of the crowd. He heard the crowd go, oh, and he thought, well, is it a split? No, it's only the 7 pins.
Well, there's a difference between the O's for the soft 7s and the O for the splits.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Harry Golden, the national tournament director, always warms up the crowd before each telecast. And he says, hey, feel for those guys when they're out there bowling. React to those shots. And normally the crowd will let you know what's happening. And Bobby Jax, cross alley spare, trails by 21. And he's still trying to figure out the solution to strikes on lane 33. And Scott Devers checking out the scoreboard. He leads by 21. He's working on a double and shooting in the 7th of the semifinal match here in the finals of the $125,000 Columbia 300 Open. Live from Skyway Park Bowl in the Emerald City, Seattle, Washington.
And let's see if Scott Devers has got some of that killer instinct anywhere. He can just step on Bobby Jax with a couple more strikes here. Leads by 21, can increase it to 31 with one more.
Mike, let me ask you a question. Both players are hitting the pocket. Devers is striking. Bobby Jax is leaving the soft 7s. Why?
Well, in my opinion, the reason is because Jax has to belly the ball a little bit, has to send it away from the pocket. He hooks the ball slightly more than Devers, and it's just not making it back with enough power to knock out that 7. On the other hand, Devers is going more direct in his angle to the pocket, The ball's just rolling up there flush right in the 1-2 pocket. It's a really squashy. And he does. Boy, up by 41. I tell you, that's a mark of a very good player inside. What is inside of his heart, because, you know, the tendency then is to play a little safe, and he didn't. He just went step on it. Got him down, keep him there.
Wow. Well, Jack's right now down by a bundle, 41 pins.
Puts enormous pressure on the opponent like that. He knows he's got to strike out to have a prayer. A little more direct with that shot, if you noticed. Kind of a wry smile on his face there.
I was just going to say that. He certainly realizing he's got his work cut out. But what about that, Mike? A little lick of the tongue on the towel, and he likes to keep that that sliding shoe a little bit cleaned off there because he plants, doesn't he?
Yeah, as long as it doesn't affect the other player, there's no problem with it. Has to have this one. I mean, he wants any chance to win this match. He must strike here.
And Tammy, his wife, looking on. Probably hoping and praying for a strike out of her husband. Oh, he shakes him loose. And she obviously enjoys that shot. She's eyeing the scoreboard as well. A glimmer of hope.
A little more angle of attack this time. It just appeared that he was a little further outside, and he didn't get the ball up as high as it had been. Comes in light into the pocket and blows him out. I don't think he actually made a move on the approach. He just went a little more direct. Devers to lock it up. And leaves a 7. He's going to, if he makes this, Dan, he's going to be in the same situation he was in the last match, that he'll need a mark in the 10th frame to lock it up. And don't think he's not thinking about that. He wanted that one. That would have iced it.
He split against Mark Roth in the 10th frame. He could have closed the door on Mark and gave Mark an opportunity to come back and win. Roth got the first one and left the 7-pin on the second shot.
He must make the spare, though. No problem. Dead center.
Scott kind of stayed right at the line and watched that one go all the way down the lane until it picked off the 7-pin.
He looks up at the scoreboard, reaches for the rosin bag. He knows what he needs to do. He's watching that spare all the way. A little sigh of relief, but he's going to sigh a little bit more if he can put 10 in a pit right here.
Bobby Jack squirming a little bit. He's uncomfortable because he realizes if Devers strikes here, it's good night, Irene.
And it was almost good night, Irene again. He got soft with the speed and right through the heart of the pins. Left the 4-7. Good break. Broke up the split. Needs to make the spare to lock it up.
Possible 236 if he would spare and strike, and that's twice he's been tested. Twice he had an opportunity to shut the door, and neither time he was able to.
It's experience.
Okay.
That's exactly what it is. Lack of it.
He's kind of learning on the job.
Right. A little more speed at the spare. That shows what he knew what he needed to do. Now he just needs 3 pins. Think you can handle that? 3 pins?
Me?
Yes.
That'd be like an even money bet. I'd move left and stay about 6 feet behind the line. Going hard and straight, right?
Well, he does need to stay behind that foul line. He does. He's going to move on to bowl for his first title. 235.
Well, he continues to bowl very well. Fans applauding the efforts of Scott Devers, so it'll be a pair of young lions, young left-handed lions, Parker Bohn III and Scott Devers, and they'll challenge each other for the title.
And the two of them together, their ages added together, barely more than mine. Doesn't matter. He leaves the 610. Another chance for Bobby Jacks goes down the drain.
But at the same time, he continues to bowl well. And it's like anything else. You could say that about Mark Roth. How many times he's made the show in the last couple of years and just hasn't been able to win. And then it's so funny. As we were talking about in the car today, Mike, you said you didn't win a match for like 5-6 years on the tour, and then all of a sudden you won 17 or 18 out of 19.
It can turn around. Yeah, it can turn around at any time.
It's almost more mental than anything else.
Yeah, the position that Scott Devers is in right now, when I got into that position, I was convinced I was going to win. When I'd won 1 or 2 matches on television, had a roll going like that, I just didn't think, I just figured that everything was going my way that day, and I was going to win.
Bobby Jacks will have to settle for third place money, which is $7,000. He crosses over, but it's all academic at this point. He finishes third, 235 to 205. Another victory for the 25-year-old left-hander from Centerville, Indiana, Scott Devers. And Scott, I think right now, feeling pretty good about his chances. However, he's going to run into a buzzsaw in just a couple of minutes in an outstanding young left-hander from New Jersey. And, of course, Parker Bohn III telecast this week.
And Rick Minear, who bowled well in Las Vegas, just missed. And Rick Jones actually had a chance to make the show if he could have struck out in the 10th frame, finished 7th for 3,600. Mark Baker, last week's champion. Palmer Fahlgren fell from 5th to 9th in that last game. And a new player, Dave Arnold, was 10th.
And on down the list, one of the hotter players on the tour, Dave Ferraro, finishing 11th. The defending champion, Dale Eagle, at 13th. Walter Ray Williams Jr., number 14, and Chris Goddard at 15th.
In 16th, the Vegas Open champion this year, Kent Wagner, Mats Carlson. Next week's champ, Norm Duke, in the finals again. And Joe Firpo won in Las Vegas. Good-looking young player, Mark McDowell, 20th.
And there you see the final four: Mike Edwards, Randy Lightfoot, Hugh Miller, and Jim Brockbank out of Medford, Oregon. Getting ready now for the title match here in the $125,000 Columbia 300 Open. Mike, what's the deal here? These two guys act as if this is a walk in the park.
I just find it amazing. In my 20 years of experience on the PBA Tour, when I was going to bowl a title match against somebody, I never talked to him. I never said boo to him at that particular time. It's nothing against any one individual, but that was the guy I wanted to beat, and I wanted to beat him. I wanted to win that title, so I didn't talk to him before that match.
Yeah, we'll see if they're friends when this is all over tonight. It is kind of interesting. There you see upcoming on ESPN, the United States Golf Association Senior Championship. First and second round coverage live Thursday, July 9th, 4 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Friday, July 10th. At 4 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Dale Douglas is the defending champion, and my, oh my, didn't he play well in the U.S. Open last week at the Olympic Club in San Francisco.
A lot of outstanding play in that particular tournament.
And let's take a look now at the top seed. That's 23-year-old Parker Bohn III out of Freehold, New Jersey. Mike Durbin, I've talked to a number of professionals out on the tour this week, and they all say this kid's got the label. He is a tremendous player. It's just a question of when he's going to break out of the mold and start to win.
Four-step player with a very nice free swing. We're going to take a look at it right now. It's seen from behind and the side. Pushes the ball and steps at the same time. It's into the swing and free right now. Look at the, comes back and nice and straight. A little open shoulder. Can he fill that hole with a nice long side? Now watch the follow through. Straight up. I'll tell you what, he's a pretty good looking young player. He's accurate. He makes his spares, and he's not afraid.
And for the first time ever in his career, he will bowl out of the top spot, and he'll bowl for his first PBA title and a trip to the Firestone Tournament of Champions. Whoever wins this match, they'll be scheduling some travel to head to Akron this coming April.
And already we see that he's probably at a disadvantage as the top seed has won only 7 of 20 tournaments this year. He's making Devers finish on the right lane.
Scott Devers with victories over Mark Roth and Bobby Jacks would like to make it 3 in a row and capture the championship. A long way to go at this stage.
And, oops, did anybody get wet on that particular shot? I used to say that when my ball would do that, leave that solid 5.
Amazing. Earlier this week in match play, Mats Carlson here left the sour apple.
And Matt's the same.
5, 7, and 10.
That's the same. Thanks, Denny, for telling everybody that.
But Mats picked up the 5-7. And he looked at me and he said, Denny, if I had one more shot, I could make the spare.
At the spare, should be no problem for the 5-pin.
Boy, the crowd seems to really be into this title match. You can feel the electricity. 23 years of age. 5'10", 144 pounds. A slender left-hander with plenty of power. Oh, my! First shot right out of the gate, and that's about as flush as you can get, Mike Durbin.
And the emotion showing on Parker Bohn as he runs even the first shot out.
And a little extra added incentive here, sitting with us in the booth. 32-time PBA champion Mark Roth is going to join us for the title game, give us his observations of that championship pair, even though he shoots from the right side, and these two young lefties are playing from the other angle.
On the crossover, A lot of speed. He's really throwing with a lot of speed today.
Mark, let me ask you a question real quick. I know that you bowl out of the Eastern region, so does Parker Bohn III. Your thoughts about his play?
Parker's a very good young bowler. He's learned a lot over the last 3-4 years, and he was telling me today lane 33 was hooking more than 34, and for the right side it was complete opposite, which is normal for us.
So he spares up in the second, and I guess you got to feel a little more comfortable, Mike Durden. You get through the first couple of shots. Now you ease up a little bit and relax, but he's facing a player that's really hot at this point.
Well, Scott was given second life by Mark not striking out in the 10th frame on a shot that looked like a pretty high percentage hit for Mark. Averaging 222 for his first 2 games. Just like that. He says, well, I left the 5-pin first time, but this time I'll put some fingers in it.
Took care of things in the second frame. And Mark, it's kind of amazing when you figure how many years you've been out here, and then you look out at a couple of youngsters, and you have to remember back in 1972 when you made your first telecast.
Yes, I do, Danny. I was very nervous first night and getting on the show and bowled Don Johnson, and he was bowled the previous year, and it was nerve-wracking.
Ooh, leaves the 6-pin.
It's funny how your first anything ever in life, you always remember probably more graphically than anything else, perhaps your last performance too, but that first one always sticks in your mind, and of course you lost that match, didn't you?
Lost by 20, 23 pins.
But you've won a few since then.
A couple.
Oh, jeez, a couple. Devers trying to convert the cross alley spare. And he does. Mark, we mentioned before this title match, Parker Bohn III and Scott Devers chatted with each other and exchanged pleasantries before the match. And Mike Durden said, geez, I never talked to the guy who was bowling for a title match. What about you?
Not really. Today I was in a good mood, but Parker's loose, and he has a lot of confidence. That's the reason why he's talking.
Ooh, trips the 6-pin out of there. Good break. Same hit that Devers had in the 3rd frame, only he got it out. There's his mother rooting him on.
And she traveled most of the first year that he played out here, and she just loves to watch her son bowl. And, I mean, heck, if I was his mom, I think I'd watch him play, too, as good as he is.
Interesting that Mark here said that the left lane is hooking more for the left-hander, yet Parker chose to finish on that particular lane.
He told me there's no question in his mind that the ball is hooking earlier than it has all week long.
There we see the score, all even. Bowlers just striking in alternate frames. High. 2-4-8. Tough spare.
And there you see him shake his head a little bit, and the 1-pin spares are tough enough. 3-pin spares are a real adventure.
Well, it looks like what he's trying to do is make the adjustment on that left lane with speed and make sure that he keeps the speed, but he's going to have to make a move or something, a couple of a board or two with his feet to get that ball into the 1-2 pocket. At the spare. And not the way he planned it, but he got it done.
Yeah, but it all looks the same on the scoreboard, and we're even Steven at this point in the early stages of the title match. Stay tuned. This one should be a dandy. We'll receive a nice check for $18,000 this evening.
Second place not too bad at $9,500. Bobby Jacks took home $7,000, and Mark Roth sitting right beside us at least made $5,500. $4,500 went to 5th place tonight.
That's right. So Mark is buying this evening because he won $5,500. Next week on the PBA Summer Tour, the Southern California Open, live and direct from Riverside, California, Wednesday, July 1st, 9 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. But let's move back to the present, as they say, and back to frame number 4 in the title match. We're all even Steven here.
And both players are picking on lane 34. Bohn has 2 strikes on it. Devers looking for his second. And gets it. Looked like he was almost a little soft with that shot, but the ball held pocket.
Mark, through the years, what was the key for you to come back out of the commercial break and make a good, firm shot?
Keep my speed up. My tendency of coming out of commercial slow down, and want to keep the same tempo we've had from the beginning of the game.
It appears that the first player that gets the first double in this match is going to have a tremendous psychological and physical advantage.
So Devers will try and take full advantage of that here in the 5th.
Light. No, it came up high. Trips that 6. That lane is hooking.
Well, it's amazing what will happen to your confidence if you start tripping those 6 pins and 4 pins.
Yes, sir. I can remember a few.
A few? Mike, you were king of tripping the fours for years. Admit it.
Bohn is just wired. Interesting. He picked the finish on the other lane.
Was that a mistake on his part, Mark, do you think?
I think he wanted to finish first and put the pressure on Scott, but it looks like right now it's not working to his liking.
Unless he makes an adjustment here on lane 33, he has struggled on the left-hand lane. Wonder if he had a chance to watch Mike Durbin's tip.
They made the adjustment. I don't know whether he moved or whether he kept it, just tried to do it speed or what he did, but whatever it did, it wound up in that solid, that 1-2 pocket. Boy, this is a big shot for him, and he just threw it beautifully. Look at how clean the release is. Heavy fingers. And that ball's rolling like crazy. Tremendous shot, and he knows it.
That Houdini shot, the disappearing act. Back to live action. Scott Devers trying to answer the call, and doesn't quite trip the 6. Had it wiggling just a little bit. Tantalizing 6-pin.
Just an eyelash high.
I know you thought I was going. Thought you were going to say freckle, didn't you? That's why you said eyelash. That's fine.
At the 6-pin, no trouble. And we should comment that during the commercial break, at 3.5 frames, these two guys were chatting with one another again. So,
Mark, what are your thoughts about that?
No, I wouldn't do that. I might give my opponent a dirty look, but never talk to him.
You aren't going to exchange pleasantries. Maybe
No.
not until after you're done.
and we see now that Devers is trailing by 1.
Yeah.
7 frame.
Yeah, but these are contemporary players. This is a different era.
I guess it must be.
Sure it is.
Boy, he's just thrown every ball in the pocket.
Well, he sets up an opportunity for a double, but meanwhile, back at the ranch here in the 7th frame on the right-hand lane, Parker Bohn III could take an 11-pin lead with a strike here.
Seems to be the crowd favorite. Bohn seems to be the crowd favorite here. A little extra time. Looking on, and she likes that where that 7-pin snapped right out of there.
Well, he certainly knows how to strike. During one PBA regional, he shot back-to-back 300 games. You don't have to be a genius to realize that's 24 straight strikes.
Well, right now he's got 3 in a row, looking for just 4, and if he gets that, it's going to put him up 21 pins.
Trying to win that first ever PBA title. Two fine, talented young left-handers really providing a show.
He's got it.
Well, Parker Bohn III took off for the races as soon as he let that shot go. The confidence building, and he knew right away as soon as he let the ball go it was a strike.
The free swing under pressure. And you can't throw it under any better, I mean, even in practice, than that under pressure.
Yeah. They may be friends before the match, but he was right back in his face with that strike.
Has to strike here. Soft 7 to 6, and then the adjustment. A little more speed and leaves the soft 7, and he's in trouble. 21 down. The best he can get now if he picks this up and strikes out is 229. Bohn with 4 in a row, going at virtually a 229 pace right now. He hasn't lost count yet, so it's still somewhat in doubt. But as they say, Bohn is in the catbird seat. Uh-oh. Now it's almost all over right now. As he,
oh, my goodness.
Mental error. Mental error. Missing that 7-pin reduces his possibilities to 217. Cross lane at the 7-pin. Wants to get it over about the middle arrow, and he just had too much angle. The ball doesn't bite and come back.
Scott said the key to his success this week was his consistency, and he's been working very hard on making his spares. Obviously, a lapse in concentration there has cost him dearly. Tries to bounce back. Oh, how about a little slap shot there from behind. A little clipping may have been called on lane 33. Where was the yellow flag, Mike Durbin?
Well, he's still alive as he's potential 217. If Parker Bohn would open one of these last 2 frames, however, Parker strikes here, the match is going to be history.
Well, if you've watched Parker Bohn, the third bowl here tonight, and said, geez, he looks like a player, a PBA Hall of Famer used to bowl out on the tour, Dave Davis. Well, it's because Parker Bohn has worked quite often with Dave Davis and credits Dave with much of his success.
Leaves the 6-pin. Making this, he's going to have to mark in the 10th frame.
Very aggressive, and there you see the fingernails are coming off. You never trim your fingernails when you bowl on national television. You got to have something to chew on when you come down to that title match, don't you?
Trim the right hand, chew on the left. Or opposite if you're left-handed.
Words of advice from a man who has gone through that a few times.
At the 6-pin.
I love the way he shoots those spares. Very aggressive, right at him. Zips it right at him.
The most important frame of his young PBA career is coming up right now.
Mark, do you remember what went through your mind when you won your first PBA title?
I just wanted to throw some strikes that day.
Well, he shot 299 when he won his first PBA
Yeah, I
title.
couldn't even shoot 300. Nice going.
What can I say? First win, first 300. I'll take it.
And many more.
For the win. Ooh, needs to make the 7-pin. Wow. Boy, he threw it pretty, though, didn't he?
Many Christmas. That's really the key to a great player, though, or potential, isn't it? When you need to strike to throw it that well.
Well, what happens if, yes, it is, but in the match right now, if he misses this, Devers could strike out for a tie. So he must make this fair. Very little time. Hard. He's got it. That's it. He's the winner. He's won his first title.
And there's the handshake between friends. They started friends, they end as friends. But Parker Bohn III captures the $125,000 Columbia 300 Open, and this is a night he'll never forget.
So it was a different ball, the Phil ball. One that didn't hook as much, obviously.
Didn't make a whole lot of difference, though, because he shoots a beautiful 224 game, and the best Scott Devers can do is 217. Make a whole lot of difference at this point, and
well, that was the I'm locked out of this, really don't care shot.
I know both of you gentlemen have been in that position where you bowled for titles, feel like you bowled pretty well, and you just didn't come up with enough.
Many times.
Well, Devers leaving the 6-pin in the 6th frame, 7-pin in the 8th frame. Killed him. If he'd have made that, though, he'd have still had a chance coming into this frame. And of course, that 7-pin.
Missing the 7-pin really just took all the wind out of his sails. In a title match, you just can't afford to make mistakes like that.
Well, I can remember back in 1983, I missed a 10-pin against Charlie Tappan, boy, in a tight match. And when you do that, your opponent just says, adios.
Out here, the competition is so fierce. Most games are won and lost in the 10th frame. You open the door, and they'll walk right through it. Al Devers, with an outstanding performance, will take home a check worth $9,500. But there you see the winner of the $125,000 Columbia 300 Open, 23-year-old Parker Bohn III. And he relishes this moment, and it'll be shared with his family. As you can see the hand still shaking just a little bit. There is the title board, 224 to 195, and he really bowled brilliantly here this evening.
Well, I think the people at home can get an idea why we say that he's got future star written all over him, and he's just waiting to burst out.
And we'll get a chance to chat with the champion right after this. The runner-up, Scott Devers, bowled tremendously here this evening. He just came up a little bit shy, but what are your thoughts about that?
Well, it boils down to the 7-pin miss late into the game. I just got a little tentative and threw a bad shot.
I have to ask you this question. You and Parker Bohn III chatted before the title match, exchanged pleasantries. It was almost like it was just a Sunday afternoon match. You were bowling for a title out there.
Yeah, but we're good friends, and we just wanted the best person to win. And apparently the best person won.
Come on in, champion, Parker Bohn III. I guess that pretty much says it all. Sportsmanship, two fine young professionals. And Parker, your thoughts about winning your first career PBA title and having to defeat a friend in the process?
It was tough. He bowled a good game. The breaks could have went either way. You know, I'm just fortunate enough to be here now. I'm glad for both of us.
You had a chance earlier on in the winter to perhaps come up a winner. Did you learn anything from that match? Did you carry anything over towards the title match this evening? You bowled superbly.
Just tried to relax, make good shots. You know, when I bowled in the winter, the title match, I was probably a little nervous and didn't make quite as crisp a shot as I would have liked to. And after those 2 shots on the left lane, I made a move and tried to make a good shot, and it worked.
Boy, you sure threw a great shot. Here we'll see it. This is the one that pretty much, as Billy Whaley used to say, was daddy lockups. And it doesn't get much better than this. A heavy roll, as Mike Durbin described, with the fingers clean release, and this is as flush as you can get. At that point in time, you pretty much had it figured you'd won your title.
Yes, I did. Once I got up, when Scott missed the spare, I was just saying to myself, try to make 2 real good shots in the 9th and 10th, and hopefully if they strike, fine. If they don't, just make the spare and come out of here a winner.
Well, I know you'll never forget this evening. Ron Herman, the president of Columbia Industries, now has a beautiful trophy and a nice check, I'm sure, to present in a couple of moments. Ron?
I just want to thank you very much for permitting Columbia 300 to participate in this wonderful tournament. It's always a pleasure to work with the PBA staff, the PBA bowlers, and we especially want to congratulate the winner tonight. Present this beautiful trophy to Parker. Thank you.
Very much.
Well said.
If I could, definitely, without a doubt, thank Mr. Ron Herman, president of Columbia Industries, for sponsoring this tournament. I hope he comes back again next year. Both of the proprietors here, Rod and Dave, they did a fine job, and all the scorekeepers, and especially you fans. We can't be here without all of yous. So thank you, everyone.
Boy, it's amazing. This is his first title, and he just reeled everything off. I have a feeling he may win a few more in his career. And why don't we have one of the co-proprietors step in and give him a lovely check worth $18,000.
Parker, on behalf of Columbia 300, Skyway Park Bowl, and the Pardee family, would like to present for your fine first place finish, $18,000. Nice bowling, Parker.
Thank you very much. Oh, man, this is great. They don't get no better.
Give you a moment to gather your thoughts. We'll take a commercial break here. Be back to talk a little bit more here from Seattle about a tremendous tournament, the $125,000 Columbia 300 tournament. Just look what's coming up next week, the Southern California Open, live from Riverside, California. Then one of my favorite stops down in Tucson, the $140,000 Miller Lite Challenge. And then upcoming right after that, we'll be heading down Austin Way to the capital of the Lone Star State. And then the Hammer Open out in Edmond, Oklahoma. So a full month of bowling on ESPN on Wednesday nights. But now we're live. We're back in Seattle. We're talking to Parker Bohn III, the winner of the $125,000 Columbia 300 Open. Mike Durbin, any questions for our brand new spanking champion?
Well, the question I have, in the second frame, you crossed over. In the fourth frame, you went high on lane 33. And then from then on out, you were solid in the 1-2 pocket. What kind of adjustment did you make?
Just moved in a little bit deeper with my feet and rolled my hand a little further to stop the ball from hooking early.
Well, whatever you did, it sure worked. I understand also we had John Jowdy on our Bowling News earlier, and he's helped a lot of pros out here. I understand that you have a word of thanks for him.
You better believe it. I owe a lot to that gentleman sitting right over there. If it wasn't for him, I don't know that I'd be here right now. My arm swing is working great. Thank you, John.
And, of course, John Jowdy paid him $5,000 to say that here this evening. No, only kidding. No, John is obviously one of the best coaches out here, and he's helped a number of professionals on the tour.
Well, you've won your first PBA title now, Parker. You've made, what, almost $60,000 here for the year? Are you thinking about that $100,000 mark? Or what are the goals for Parker Bohn?
This was one goal right here. This check and that trophy says a lot. We'll go for the $100,000, but we're going to take it one step at a time.
Okay, now one other question. Do you know where Akron, Ohio is?
I'm going to find out real fast.
Better book some travel arrangements. You know, you'll be participating in the Firestone Tournament of Champions in April 1988.
I'll look forward to it, believe me.
I know your mother was here tonight and your sister as well. Obviously, she's had a chance to watch you bowl a little bit as Mother Jean and Sister Cindy. Cindy, why don't you come over and step to my left? We'll step in, and oh, this is it right here. Huh? This is the life, an $18,000 check, and you get all those kisses to boot.
I'm telling you, there's nothing better than it. It's a PBA, you can't beat it. It's all here. Columbia, the Bowling Center, Skyway Park, the fans, the scorekeepers, everyone, right down to the last person. Thank you all.
burning question. Does Mom take the check and put it in the bank, or do you get anything out of this, Parker? Are you on a per diem program, or what? Do you get anything from this?
She'll put it in the bank, all right, but it's just going to go to further bowling.
Now, what about your thoughts? You've won now the first time. You've broken through. You know what it means to win and how to win. Where do you go from here?
Hopefully next week. I mean, I'm going. I'll be there. You know, if things come out fortunate enough my way, if I bowl real good and make good shots, I might be sitting in the same position I am now. You never know.
Did you have any premonitions throughout the week that this could be the week that you'd win your first title?
I did, but, you know, you never know until the last ball's thrown. So I'm just glad it's here and it's done.
It's a whole lot easier when you finally get a chance to stand in that winner's circle. Mike, what did you think about the first time that you won?
Well, I won. We talked at the top of the show. I won in 1967 in my first PBA title. We talked that maybe Parker could win his first title in 1987. You always remember your first one, but I think with Parker that there's going to be a lot more to follow.
Well, it's amazing you could remember back 20 years.
Oh, yes.
All the way back to 1967. We're glad you joined us this evening live from Seattle. Stay tuned. Next week we'll be in Southern California. There you see the winner, Parker Bohn III, the $125,000 Columbia 300 Open. So long from Seattle. Next week on ESPN, it's the Southern California Open, live from Town Square Lanes in Riverside, California, 9 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN. Tonight's $125,000 Columbia 300